of holistic health. So my name is Pauline Mundia.
Sorry for that. Let me confirm her network. Just a minute. Yeah, she's joining back. Just a technical issue. But good morning, everyone. I hope you're well from where you are. Let's give her like 2 minutes to join back. Yeah, Pauline, now you're back.
Okay.
You can share your screen again and then you introduce yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
So we are good now?
Yes, but
So
you can
see
put
the
it
screen?
in, you can put it in presentation mode.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And I said I'm happy to be here with you. So my name is Pauline Mundia. By profession, I'm an agriculturalist. I studied horticulture, and I just recently transitioned into this field of nutrition. So today we are going to talk about nurturing the mind, body, and spirit, and we're looking at what we call holistic health. We are going to look at these 5 topics. The first one is about the introduction. Then we're going to look at the benefits. We look at the key concepts. We look at the different dimensions of health. And then at the end, we're going to have what I like to call a call to action. Because for me, when I do my trainings, the success of my training, I say, is not really just about carrying out the training, but it's what people do after the training. So we're going to see whatever we learn, what can we do about it. I will request to stop the video because of network, so that we don't have network issues. That's okay?
Yes.
Okay. So as an introduction, I have these 3 questions which I would like us to ask ourselves. And I will expect quite a bit of participation from the participants. I like having an interactive session. So these are 3 questions on your screen. And I would like us using the chat box just to answer how many of these questions is your answer yes. If it's 1, you write 1. If it is 2, you write 2. If it's 3, you write 3. So 30 seconds, we can put in the chat box these questions. How many of these questions is our answer yes? So Ratemo, as our moderator, I'll ask you, maybe you can just let us know. I don't know how many people have answered and how many yeses do we have? 3 or 2 or 1? So I can see we have quite a number of yeses, and this tells us that maybe we have a challenge in taking care of maybe our health because of either circumstances that we are aware about or things that we're not aware about. We are going to see how we can really take care of our health. Here we can do things differently, that we can be more productive in our lives, in our professional lives. So as an introduction, I'm going to start with the definitions. I know, like for most of us most of us in the agriculture sector, definitions are usually very important because they help us understand a concept, and that's how we're able to work around it. When you talk about health, we're going to look at the World Health Organization definition. Of course, there are very many different definitions, but this is the one that encompasses everything. We say health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. I know many times when we think about health, we always think about when I'm not sick, I say I'm healthy, but we shall see that it's more than that. It looks at the physical body, it looks at the mental, and also looks at the social well-being. It's also the ability to function at one's full potential, both physically and mentally. Then we look at wellness. What is wellness? Wellness is the act of practicing healthy habits on a daily basis to attain better physical and mental health outcomes. So this is a dynamic process of living a healthy and fulfilling life. So what we can say is that, wellness is more like a verb, it's more a doing, it's more something that is practicing, but health is more of a noun. It is a state of being. Then when you talk about holistic, it means the whole person approach. We're looking at the different body systems, and we're looking at different external influences that affect our health and our wellness. So from this, we can be able to now to look at holistic health and wellness in total. What does it mean? It means exploring the interrelations between diet, biological systems, lifestyle, and environment to promote optimal whole body function for overall health and wellness. We're looking at the interactions of the different things that affect our lives, both external and internal, and how they affect how we live and how we do things. And this will help us move from surviving to thriving. I know many times when somebody asks you, how are you? You say, I'm okay, I'm just there. But we need to move from that. We need to say, I am thriving. I'm not just surviving. And when we look at holistic health and wellness, it is also aligned to the SDGs, as our agriculture activities are aligned to SDGs. Everything that we do should always be something that can contribute to the SDGs, because we know these are global recommendations that were given for holistic life. So it is aligned to the third SDG, which talks about good health and well-being. It is also aligned to the number 12, which is responsible consumption and production and climate action. If I speak too fast, you can let me know. So why holistic health and wellness?
You're okay.
Okay, thank you. So why do we talk about holistic health and wellness? One is that the incidences of obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, the cardiovascular diseases, the heart disease, and cancer are growing with each passing year. And we realized that at some point, these diseases, we thought they were mostly for the Western world or for the urban populations, but we have seen that these diseases, which we call lifestyle diseases, are also becoming prevalent even in our rural areas, where most of our farmers are based, the farmers that we are working with, the farmers that we are trying to promote agroecology to, so that they can adopt it. It's something that we need to think about very seriously. And these diseases have been linked to diet, lifestyle, and social interactions. And these are things that are within our control. So it's important to look at this holistic health, because these are things that we can be able to control. These are things that we can do something about. Then the world has also realized that we need to look at preventative medicine instead of looking at healthcare as something to we look at healthcare in terms of preventing disease and not curing disease, because our current healthcare system, it's more about curing, but not preventing. So for example, when you go to see the doctor and you say you have a headache, go to the pharmacy, they'll give you a painkiller, they'll give you Panadol or aspirin or whatever is a painkiller, but they do not look at what is causing you to get that headache. So in our medical field, we are always trying to just cure the symptoms, but not looking at where are they coming from. When you look at holistic health and wellness, we try to go to the root cause of all the challenges that we're having and try to address them from that point so that we can be able to address them fully and completely. Then holistic health also provides support to making the healing process faster and easier. So as we take the drugs that we've been given in the medical field, if we support the other aspects of our lives, then we can be able to ensure that we heal much faster and also in a much easier way. What are the benefits of our holistic health? So holistic health helps individuals to achieve overall well-being and a better quality of life. Like I said, we should not just be surviving, but we need to be thriving. We are called to thrive, not to just survive. It can also prevent illness and chronic diseases by addressing underlying causes and risk factors. So looking at our overall health, we can be able to see where are the challenges, what is causing these diseases, and if we're able to catch the causes, then we prevent the disease from either like full blown. Then holistic health also provides a comprehensive approach to health and wellness that considers all aspects of a person's life. It's important for this holistic health approach that we look at it in a more open way as a new approach to our health. And I would say, like, when we talk about holistic health, if you look at, I think from what I got from Ratemo, we are all in the agroecology field. We know that agroecology is also a holistic way of looking at agriculture, looking at the ecological factors, looking at economic factors, looking at social factors, which I like to use, they call them the 3 Ps, that is plan, that is, what do we call the 3 Ps? Planet, profit, and people. The same way in this holistic health, we are looking at the environment, we are looking at our lives from an economical point of view, we are looking at our lives from a mental point of view, and we're looking at our lives also at a physical point of view. So when we talk about holistic health, these are just some of the words that come into your mind that when you talk about holistic health. And I would like maybe 2 or 3 people just to tell me, out of these words about that encompass holistic health, which one stands out for you? Anybody want to go?
I think for me, it's balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think for me also, what stands out for me is nutrition.
Yeah, people are typing in the chat, so Ratemo, you can also check what is on the chat.
Yeah, Ratemo, you can share with us what is on the chat.
Yes, we have balance from Nancy, nutrition from Christopher, Fortunate says nutrition, fitness, and prayer. Elizabeth says nutrition, and Dija says mind. Yeah, so far those are the comments.
Okay, thank you very much. So at least I can see people have an idea of that holistic health is something broad. It's not just about food, because I know many times when you think about our health, the first thing or the only thing that comes to our mind is something about food. So the key concepts that we shall be looking at in terms of holistic health are 4. The first one is what we call bioindividuality. The second one is primary food. The third one is secondary food. And the third one is called the circle of life. So when you talk about by individuality, this basically just says that no one size fits all. This tells us that we are all different. Like for those of you who have tried one diet or another, I know sometimes you find that it doesn't work, something is not working for you, but it's working for a friend of yours. I'm sure many of us can relate to that. Or the stories you hear about somebody has tried this diet and they've been able to lose weight, they've been able either to gain weight, they've been able to know better skin and things like that. So it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong or that the diet is bad. It just means that no diet can fit everybody because we are all very different. We are all very unique in our biological makeup and our requirements. And each individual differs in their nutritional needs as a result of both external and internal factors. For example, personal preferences and tastes. So sometimes just depending on what you prefer to take, people are very different in that. Then our emotional thoughts also affect very much how we relate especially to food. Then the age and the season that we are in life. This is also very important to remember. If you're in your 20s, if you're a teenager, your needs at that point will be very different from your needs when you're 30 or 40 or when you're 50 or 60. So whenever we are looking at how we are going to modify our lifestyle, we need to always keep in mind that our age and our season in life is very important, as well as our emotional thoughts. Then our lifestyle patterns are also very important. At what point are you in your life? Are you very active? Are you in youth and you're very active, maybe physically? Are you more active mentally? Whatever your lifestyle pattern is, do you travel a lot? Whatever your lifestyle pattern is, it's also very important and it means a lot in terms of what will work for you. Then the physical environment where you are is also very important. If you're in a very cold place or a very hot place, you're in a place with a lot of noise, you're in a place that is very maybe polluted and things like that. All this will affect your health as an individual. So what is important for us to remember here in this by individuality is that we should never compare ourselves with other people. We always try to do what is best for ourselves. It involves quite a bit of trial and error at some point because you need to find out what works best for you. And it may not be what works best for your friend, even for your sister or for your mother or your spouse or whoever it is. So we need to always remember of our minds that bio-individuality is very important. Then the next thing we talk about is what we call primary food. And when we talk about primary food, we talk about food that is off the plate. And this is what nourishes our mental body. I know our main thoughts about food is the food that we eat, the food that is basically on our plate. But when we talk about holistic health, we talk about food that is off the plate. And this is what you can see in the plate that is there. The food is inside the plate, yeah? Then around outside the plate, we can see some things there. We have our career, our relationships, our spirituality, and our physical activity. This is what we call the primary food. And we call it primary food because it's very important and it's actually what determines what we put on the plate. For example, if we look at career, depending on your career, if your career is very stressful, it's going to really determine what you're going to eat. It's going to determine how you're going to live your life. If in terms of relationships, for example, the kind of the relationships that you have can also greatly influence what you put on the plate as now the other kind of food, which is coming next, is what we call the secondary food. If you're in toxic relationship, you're in relationships with people who are not maybe well, you'll also definitely be there. If you have a toxic relationship that is stressing you, it's also going to influence the kind of food that you eat. We always look at what we call comfort food. If you're in a good relationship and you're happy, then it also helps to make better decisions in terms of what you're going to eat. So this primary food is very important because it brings us the awareness to that full picture of health. So it's something that we also need to keep in mind as we as we look at our health. So the areas of consideration when we're looking at the primary food, we look at stress, we look at sleep, we look at our finances, we look at our genetic disposition, we look at the environment, and we look at relationships. All this as we look at the dimensions of health later, we shall discuss them later. So for now, I will not get into them in more details. Then we come to the secondary food. Now, the secondary food is the actual food that is on our plates. What we talk about now, the fruits and the vegetables, the proteins, the carbohydrates. And the rule of thumb that we actually told is to eat food, not too much, and mostly plants. If there's anybody in animal production here, I am sorry for you. But when you come to talking about health, we don't encourage too much eating of animal protein, but I think that is a story for another day. So when consider looking at food that is on the plate, is what now nourishes our physical body. And the considerations that we make here are one, the dietary guidelines. We find that many countries actually have dietary guidelines on how people should eat. Again, depending on their age, we have the young children, we have the teenagers, we have the young adults, we have mothers, we have the aging population. So they're usually dietary guidelines, but as I said, these are just guidelines to help us at a path. We always need to keep in mind our bio-individuality. Then we also need to consider the nutrients, because when we eat food, it's supposed to be nourishing our bodies. When you talk about nutrition, it's about nourishment. It's about nourishing our bodies. It's not just about eating to fill our tummies so that we can feel that we are full, but it's about looking at what are we putting in our mouths? What are we putting into our bodies? Is it nutritious? Is it helping our bodies? Is it growing our bodies? So there we look at the different classes of food, what is relevant to you at what point in your life. Then we look at our eating habits. They're also very important because sometimes they determine what we eat and they also determine how useful the food that we eat is in our bodies. Excuse me. Our eating habits, as much as we are eating healthy food, sometimes the eating habits that we have can also make the food that we eat not be very useful to our bodies. As professionals, most of us, I know, we eat probably on the go, either always at our computers or we are standing or during our commute, but we need to learn to eat mindfully. Then we also consider modern and traditional food, because again, this is where we talk about the nutrients that we get, and we look at food and the environment. Where is our food coming from? And this is where our expertise now as people in the agroecology sector come in. Where is our food coming from? No matter how good that food is, if it's grown in a toxic environment, then these toxins are definitely going to get into our bodies, and that is also going to be detrimental to our health. So the food on our plate, the choices that we make are driven by many factors. One is our genes, so our genetic makeup can influence what we eat. Our metabolism, how is it high, is it low? That also determines the food choices. Your lifestyle, your environment, our society, culture, and economy is also a great influencer of the food choices we make. I know we always talk about the people in Asia and the things that they eat, which for us, we feel they are not food, but it's for them, it is their culture. For them, it's what they have learned to do. So in our different cultures, there are things that we eat that maybe other people will not eat. And there are things that we may feel that because of our culture, we cannot eat. I know for us, I would say probably in Africa, we rely a lot on maize, something which personally I've really tried to tell people that, I mean, when we talk about food security, I would say in most African countries, we say there's food insecurity because there's no maize, but is that really true? So we need to really open up our minds a bit more and look at what other options do we have. Then of course, our personal belief system also influences our food choices. Sometimes what we believe that is good for us, what we believe that we can, that we enjoy, is also important in our food choices. Then we have what we call the circle of life. So the circle of life, this is a tool that helps bring awareness to the balance in health and wellness in an individual. And it shows the different dimensions of health and well-being. It mainly focuses on the primary food areas, but we also have the secondary food. And it's easy, it's a tool that can help show you where things are going well and areas where you need improvement. So I don't know how many people have seen this circle of life before.
The center of that.
Sorry? Maybe you can say in the chat, anybody who has seen this circle of life?
For me, I haven't. My first
You
time.
haven't?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we're talking about holistic health, this is a very important tool, and I'd like us to do a small exercise here. I hope everybody has a piece of paper and a pen near you. You can just draw the circle in your own way. I think I'll share with Ratema, then she can share with you one later. But for now, you can just put on a piece of paper and just write the different areas in our lives, the different aspects of our lives. We have an emotional life, our physical life, our social and cultural lives, our intellectual life, our spirituality. And here I would say spirituality is not about religion, which we shall see later, but it's just about having a sense of inner purpose. Then our financial life, occupation, this is about career, and environment, how we relate to the environment around us, and then our emotions. So how this tool works is that towards the center, we have 0. It's like a gauge. So towards the center, we have 0. At the end, we have 10. So depending on how you feel comfortable with that aspect of your life, you put an X on the line. We can say, for example, if you're talking about physical, we can look at the line on the right side there. So what we do is we put a star. For example, physical, where do you feel your physical life is in terms of physical activity, in terms of how you eat? Are you comfortable with it? If you're not comfortable, it's at 0. If you're very comfortable and you're okay, it's at 10. So it can be anything there in between. So if we take the center of the circle to be 0 and the edge to be 10, and maybe you have a 5 or a 6, you put an X at that point. So you do the same for all the different aspects. Then from there, you connect those points with a pen, and that gives you your current circle of life. So I'd like us to try that out. Maybe I give you 2 minutes. Is it clear, or you'd like me to explain again?
Do you mind repeating?
Confusing.
Yes.
Please repeat the instruction.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, and also because the line, like if you take physical, there are 2 lines on physical, the other one is on the side of emotional, and the other one's on the side of social cultural. So which line are we using? Are we going clockwise or anti-clockwise?
You can clockwise. Usually we do clockwise, but depending on you, as long as you decide on one, that's okay. But usually we do clockwise. So for physical, you take the line that is next to now, social and cultural. Then
okay, so what are we trying to establish by doing that? If you are closer to 0, it means it's good, it's bad. If you are at the margins of the circle, the outer circle, it means it's good. Is that what you are trying to establish?
Yes.
Okay.
And then what you do after that, the end is that you're going to do for each different aspect. Then from there, you're going to join those different points for all the different aspects. That helps you now also to see the balance, what is in the different areas. Anybody still having some challenge, or we are okay now?
Maybe you explain again.
Okay. So this circle of life is a tool to help us bring awareness to the balance of our health and wellness. So from this circle, we look at the different dimensions of our lives. Our lives are made up of all these different aspects, which are all important. But sometimes we find that we concentrate on one or another. So this tool helps us to find out where is our balance, where do we have challenges. So how we use the tool, I said each dimension, we are going to go clockwise. So for the line for each dimension, if it's closer to the middle of the circle, that is 0. Towards the outside of the circle, it is 10. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how do you feel? How comfortable are you with that aspect of your life? For example, physical. If you feel you're physically active and you eat well, maybe it's a 7. So you can just gauge from that, from the middle to the end, where would you put 7? If you're not comfortable and it's 3, you put it at 3. So you do the same for each of the different dimensions. And we have said we are going clockwise. So for the physical, we'll denote it on the line between physical and social. So we do that for each of the different dimensions. And then we join the different points that we have got for each dimension. So this will help us know where are things going on well, where are things not going too well. It will also help us see how balanced our life is.
Thank you. It's now clear.
Okay.
Yes.
So I give you 1 minute to do your wheel. We also call it a wheel of life. You can either call it a circle of life or wheel of life. So have we made our circle?
I would like to know the difference between social and environmental, so that I can be supported to rate myself.
Okay. Social is more about social interactions. That is social interactions with people specifically. It's more about interactions with people and relationships. And then for environment, it's broader. This talks about our natural environment. It also has an aspect of social environment, but more it talks about the natural environment and the, what do we call it? The environment, like where you're working, the place where you're working, the built environment in terms of like exactly where you live and where you work. And then the natural environment, how are we connected with Mother Earth? How are things where you are? Is that good? So are we through with that? Maybe somebody can share the experience. Somebody can tell us how their circle is. If you put that circle on the ground somewhere and it was a wheel, would it run? Is it even in a way that it would run? Maybe one or two people can share before we continue.
Nothing to just stop if you want to share. Yes, Saber. Yeah, you're up. You can share.
Thank you so much. My wheel has, it's not a wheel, it's like a star. It's like a star with so many sharp edges and nodes and edges and nodes like that. I really want to appreciate that we fluctuate, whether emotionally or physically. You can feel fit today and then you don't want to do exercises the next day, or you can feel like, okay, I'm going to watch my diet so that I can be physical this time. And really life challenges us. Spiritually, one day you're like, okay, I just want to make it right with my God. And then the next day you can be asking yourself, maybe a life situation challenges you, maybe like death of a loved one. I just lost my father last week. So then even when we were there, people were asking, some people were asking, God, where are you? You get. So in such, then you find that you're here, then the next time you're there, I don't think it is stable for everyone that the circle can move real smooth at any one given time. That's my experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and we're sorry for your loss. Yeah, that's true. There's usually a lot of fluctuation, but when you look at health, we look at it as a lifestyle. We look at it as something that is, something that is like continuous, or that becomes a way of life. Of course, there will be the ups and downs, but there's the general feeling that, I mean, let's say 90% of the time I'm at this level, but something can come and take me down. But we need to look at our life or our health in a way that it's always at optimum level, but that does not mean we can't fall or that we cannot break. But we can find ways of, building our small habits in, day out, so that at least 80 to 90% of the time we can say, yes, we are at our peak. But I agree with you, of course, the ups and downs will always come, but they shouldn't be, a down comes and it takes you 1 year or 2 years, you're in the down, let's say in your physical life or your intellectual life or your financial life. It should be just something that comes because of a trigger or something in the external environment, but you're able to, again, as we shall see, you'll learn how to cope with these things and get back on track. Okay, so I would want us to watch a short video as we move to the next step. I hope it will play. About what we call the blue zones. I don't know if you've heard of blue zones. These are research was done, and these were areas where people are found to be able to live long lives. So the researchers wanted to understand why. Okay, maybe we can share in the chat or online what, out of those points, what struck you most, or which you feel resonates with you most?
Yes, Beth can talk.
Okay, so for me, what struck me most was the family love and the issue of committing to one partner. But what just worried me in this video is that there is nothing about Africans or Africa. And when we are talking of blue regions, I was wondering whether are we talking about water? What exactly are we talking about? Because some of the aspects like family love and the issue of committing to one partner have really nothing to do with where you are located. It's just humanity, whether you are in Africa or you're in Asia. So those are my views. But what just worried me in the video is that it's more like a European kind of life, but not much of any of our own African life that has been covered there.
Okay, thank you.
On the chat, we have a comment from Irina. She says they are committed to one life partner. They raise their children with love and give them time. And then we have Saber, who says shedding stress, belonging to a community, having a few friends that one keeps for life. You move naturally, you eat healthy. And then Christine says purpose. Yeah, those are the chat comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, for me also, the issue of moving naturally is what really strikes me, because I know many times we think that for us to be physically fit, we have to either enroll in a gym or something like that, but we can find in our lives, normal ways that we can be able to move naturally. In terms of the comment on this, actually, there was no region in Africa. So this was a research that was done, and they identified these 5 regions in the world. There are some there's Asia, there's America, there's Europe, there's South America, and North America. I'm really not sure how come they never got to Africa, but they said that in those areas, they discovered there were a lot of centenarians, people who are living over 100 years, and they wanted to find out why. So this research in some areas, but again, the research was done by Europeans, so maybe, I don't know, maybe for us, we can think in our communities back home, we can think about that. But basically what it's trying to tell us is what are the key issues in these areas, what were the main things that these people were found doing, what were their life habits. And these life habits, most of them, they are part of these 8 dimensions of wellness. They were able to look at these different dimensions of wellness and look at each of them, give each of them its importance, not, look at some, give some so much more importance, but neglect others, because they are all important. They may not be all equally important, but they're all important to consider. They're like part of a chain, all of them. So if one aspect of the chain is not working, then the whole chain will be weak. So we are going to look at these different dimensions briefly, because each of them is basically a talk on its own. So I will just mention the key points for each of them. So the first one is the physical. The physical health is the foundation of the holistic health, and all other dimensions are interconnected to it. So this refers to the state of the body and how it functions. And this looks at proper nutrition, physical activity, rest, and sleep. These are the 4 key areas that we look at in terms of our physical dimension of health. It is important for us to look at our physical health because it will avoid burnout and injuries. We need to be able to have proper nutrition and physical activity so that we can be able to be active enough to carry out our activities of daily living as professionals in the agroecology sector or wherever we are. So in terms of physical, we look at these 4 different areas. One is the physical, is the nutrition, which is what nourishes the body. I think we mentioned it earlier. And the kind of nutrition that we give our bodies impacts on our risk of disease. We know that we said that nutrition is about feeding the body. So if we're able to feed the body well, then we can reduce our risk of disease, because there are many diseases that come into our bodies because our bodies are not strong enough. If we just go back to Corona we had a few years back, we know that the people who are at risk of really contracting or being affected by Corona more are people who had underlying diseases and people who are not very healthy. So it's very important that we look at our nourishment, how we nourish our how we nourish our bodies. The same way when we are talking about our plants, we say we need to nourish the plants so that they can be able to grow well. And we nourish our plants by ensuring that we feed our soil. So the same thing to our bodies. Then the food that we eat also impacts the day-to-day energy levels. So again, depending on the kind of food you eat, it can either grow your energy levels or it can diminish your energy levels. It also impacts, so can erode our self-confidence or self-esteem, very much overweight or we are underweight. Then of course this can erode our self-confidence and our self-esteem. And this will of course impact our professional work. Maybe we are asked to do something somewhere and we feel, no, I may not be able to go and do that, maybe make that talk. I cannot be able to go and talk to those people somewhere. You feel you're not confident. When you look at our physical nutrition, what are we supposed to do? One is we go back to the basics. And the basics is about eating diets that are high in fruits and vegetables, eating high quality protein, drinking a lot of water, and reducing or minimizing processed foods. We know that these processed foods are what are bringing many of the problems that we have, because they are processed with a lot of chemicals, a lot of toxins, which then our bodies have to really work hard to remove these toxins. And our body has to use a lot of energy to remove these toxins. The energy that could have been used to build the body, the energy that could have been used to grow your brain so that you can think better, then it is used to try and remove the toxins from your body. It also overworks the organs that are involved in detoxing, the liver, the kidneys, and again, this can result in malfunction. Then of course, we have the bio-individuality. We need to remember that we have dietary needs as individuals, and also based on our health, our age, our values, and our activity levels. These are the things that should influence the decisions we make about the nutrition or what we are going to eat. Then home cooking is very important, and it's something that I think we are getting away from, as we should say in quotes, we call ourselves civilized and we are too busy. Very important to prepare your own meals because you know what you're cooking, and even cooking itself is very therapeutic. And as much as possible, grow your own food. Even if you live in the city, nowadays we have what we call urban gardening. We have pots where we put flowers. Instead of putting these flowers, you can put some herbs and spices that can help you spice up your food, and which are also important in that they have a lot of the micronutrients that we need for proper functioning of the body. And we try as much as possible to vary our cooking styles. I know many of us, we are probably busy professionals, and you want to come and put everything in one pot and cook and just eat. But if you vary the cooking styles, then also the food becomes enjoyable to eat. And of course, it is also less expensive to cook for yourself rather than always eating out or ordering food out. And then we have what we call crowding out. This is a very important aspect of our nutrition, and it talks about focusing on adding more whole foods into your diet rather than removing certain foods. One reason why many of the diets that we try don't work is because they tell you to, stop eating carbohydrates, stop eating meat, stop eating, something like that. Stop taking sugar, but it's something that is not very easy to do. Something that is part of that is in your lifestyle is not very easy to do. So when you talk about holistic health and wellness, what we encourage is what we call crowding out. So for example, in your plate, depending on how you have been putting food on your plate, let's say half the plate is rice, and then a quarter is the protein, let's say it's beans, and a quarter is vegetables. You just go removing a little of the rice and adding more of the vegetables. So rather than tell somebody to stop eating something, you just tell them to keep adding little of the good things. And by and large, with time, you'll find that now your plate is filled with more of the nutritious food. Then we talk about physical activity. This is about engaging in regular physical activity. And you note here, we are not talking about exercise. We are saying physical activity. It's basically just about movement. The health benefits of movement include muscular fitness. We need our muscles to move. Then of course, heart health, our heart becomes much healthier. We are more flexible. We have better balance. We are able to be more coordinated and we can be more agile. So these are just some examples of physical activity that you can do. The first one is just walking. The second one is either running or jogging. The third one there is dancing. That's also a very good form of physical activity. So if you're not able to go to the gym, you can go out and dance. You can also dance in your house. Then there's swimming. Then of course there's the exercise itself that you can do, again, either in a gym or you can even do at home. And we also try to encourage people in the workplace, employers, if they can have a place where they can be able to do some physical activity. And also gardening. Gardening is also a form of physical activity. I think about 3-4 weeks ago, when the rain started, I went up country to help in planting. And where I live now, I have a small kitchen garden where in 1-2 hours, I'm able to work on my small garden and I'm through. So this time when I went, it was, you have people who have come to plant and it's a whole day's work. And actually, I stayed with them the whole day, but I can tell you the next day, I could hardly walk and I realized, I think I'm not used to this too much physical activity. Which for me was a wake-up call that I need to learn how to be more active. So gardening actually can be really a good physical activity. So when we're doing exercise, these are the 4 things that we try to do. One is about endurance. So this helps improve the health of the heart, the lungs, and the circulatory system. So this is basically about lifting weights. And we really don't even have to use these dumbbells. We use this depending on the size of your hands, I guess, yeah? The 500 ml bottles, when they have water, if you want to make them heavier, you can put stones or you can put sand. It doesn't mean that you have to go and buy dumbbells. You can also make your own dumbbells on your own. Then we have flexibility, which is important for stretching. Then we have balance, which is important because it can prevent falls and help improving your balance. And then of course we have strength exercises that can help you stay independent and prevent fall-related injuries. So I would like us to do some small practical, and I think the ones that we can try to do are one, the flexibility and the balance. So wherever you are at your desk, I want you to stand up, try to do the flexibility, see whether you can reach down and touch your toes. And then balance, you can stand on one foot and put your leg up like that. And those who practice yoga know that is called a tree pose. So can we try that 1 minute, and then in the chat box we can say if we're able to do the 2 of them. Flexibility. If you have some water or bottle of water with you, you can also try to raise up your hands and maybe do 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So 1 minute to stretch, do flexibility, and to do the balancing exercise. I hope we all stand. I don't know how this is the disadvantage of virtual meetings because you cannot be sure that people are doing what. I think we should. I don't know if they'll be able to put the cameras or there'll be an issue with the network. But let's try. Let's see if we can touch our toes. So how was it? Anybody who didn't reach their toes? I hope not.
I think I did not manage. I mean,
Touch your toes. Huh? They're too far. With practice, you just keep doing every day. Maybe today you reach your ankles. Maybe today you reach the calves. As you go on, if you keep practicing, at the end of the day, you'll be able to reach touch your toes or even touch the floor. The balancing is also very important. I think we need to practice a lot of the balancing exercises. Again, with Google, we can also look for different balancing exercises. In our work as professionals, probably we move a lot. So we need to be careful that we have good balance, because once we fall, that means medical bills, that means we are out of work. So we need to try and see as much as possible how we can take care of our physical bodies. The strength exercises also, we can look for, if it's just a rope or something, there are different things that we can use to strengthen our bodies. So I hope we all tried it out at least.
Yeah, I see from the charts, trying.
Okay, that's good. So let this not be just for today. Even when you are at work, I mean, you sit at your desk from 8 to 5. Just wake up. Don't mind about what people start. Sometimes you're in an office that is an open office and people start looking at you. But remember, it's about your health. Just every 2-3 hours, just stand up, either stretch up your hands or stretch and touch your toes, try the balancing. Yeah. Okay, next one we look at is sleep. And I would say sleep is one of the most overlooked aspects of our health, something that we take for granted, something that we really assume a lot. I know as professionals, even I remember, sometimes, people are very proud saying the way I slept so late working last night, like it's an achievement, but sorry to tell you that that is not an achievement. Sleep is very important. And why is sleep important? One, that's when our internal organs are able to rest and recover. That's when we have the tissue repair, muscle growth, and also the release of hormones that control the different aspects of the different body actions are released during the night or when you're asleep. And then 3, also memory consolidation occurs. So during that time of rest, it's a time of rest and recover, then you're able to formation of new memories. What can we do to ensure that we have better sleep? One, of course, is nutrition. The way you eat is very important in terms of how well you can sleep. If you eat too much, again, of course, you'll not be able to sleep. Have light evening meals. Like we saw the people in the blue zones who were told that they have a light meal in the evening. Avoid late night snacking, especially with snacks that are high energy, because they'll keep you awake. And then also avoid taking late night beverages, especially caffeine and alcohol. Then your environment also matters. Where you sleep also matters. Is it cluttered? Do you have clothes all over? That will affect your mind subconsciously. You may not think about it, but it will affect the quality of your sleep. Always best also if you can sleep in a dark and quiet place. Experiment with restorative evening activities, like reading a book, listening to some music, some light yoga and things like that. And also invest in a good mattress, because again, that will impact especially on your posture and how well you sleep. Then we have what we call sleep hygiene. This is about, if possible, always take a shower before sleeping. That will relax you a lot. Brush your teeth, of course, wear comfortable sleepwear, and try to avoid screen time 1 to 2 hours before bed. I know this one is difficult for many of us because I think we fall asleep with our cell phones on our hands for most of us, I'm sure. But we should try as much as possible to avoid screen time a few hours. There's the issue of that blue light and things like that. Then we look at spiritual. In terms of spiritual, this is about expanding the sense of purpose and meaning of life and work. Like I said, spiritual is not equivalent to religion, but it's more about having a belief system. It's about your values, but it's also about connecting to a higher being. This is where the religion bit comes in, but it's not everything about it. It's important to have your own personal belief system, what you believe as a sense of right and wrong. What are your values as a person? This is also very important in terms of motivating and guiding what you do as a person. But again, we said it's also important to have that sense of a higher being, having a connection to something greater, something that you can rely on, something that you can count on. And I think if you remember again in those blue zones, they said one of the things of those people is that they had that aspect of that spiritual, having some spiritual practice, whether it is praying, whether it is going to church, whether it's having like a fellowship and something like that. That is also very important in our holistic health. It helps balance out our life, because this spiritual health is easily what brings us comfort and guidance during our difficult moments. So how do we practice our spiritual health? One, we practice what we call mindfulness. That is just being aware and being present. Then spending time in nature is also very important. Nature can be very therapeutic, and also engaging in spiritual exercises. And I know you can see I've used a foot for my in this slide. And the reason I used foot is it was deliberate, because there's something we call grounding, which you can also maybe look at later. Grounding is about, just stepping onto the earth with your feet. Stepping into nature on grass or the earth, it has a lot of benefits. I know nowadays when we started wearing shoes, we feel we do not want to step on the soil and make our feet dirty. But just read about grounding and you'll see it has a lot of benefits. Then we look at social health. This one I'll not talk much about it. I know many of us are very good at this one. It's about the ability to form and maintain positive relationships with others. But here note the word positive. It's about having a sense of connection and belonging, having a support system, having what they call a tribe, people who you know that you can rely on. But these are people who also need to be people who also help to build you up. Positive relationships, not relationships where you're going to just sit and gossip and lament, and these are the bad things that are happening in life and stuff like that. But no, it's about social health. It's about relationships that are going to grow you. People who you can grow with either spiritually, emotionally, mentally, even in terms of investment and networking and things like that. So how do we practice our social self-care? One, we need to have empathy. That is just being understanding to other people. We need to have good communication skills, and also important to maintain positive relationships. And where possible, run away from toxic relationships. You don't have to be friends with somebody who is always very negative. It's all right to leave and to keep the person at a distance. It doesn't mean you don't talk to them. It doesn't mean that you hate them. It just means that you don't put them in your circle where you want to, if you want to grow. Okay, another short break to enlighten our minds a bit, to make our brains think a bit. So you can see those 5 letters. I'll give you 1 minute. I'll put a timer. I want you to write 3 words of 3 letters or more, using each letter once. Yeah. So 1 minute. Let me put my timer. Then at the end of the 1 minute, we can write in the chat box how many words we got. Okay. Time to stop. Let me see on the chat how many words did you get? This is 7. Okay. 5. Christopher at 8, I think that is our highest so far. Six. So our highest is 6, is 8 with Christopher. That's good. Okay, Saba is also 8. Ooh, Sarah got 10. That's great. So these are ways I would say. So this brings us to our next, which is about intellectual growth. This is also another aspect of our lives. Remember, we are talking about the 8 dimensions of our lives, which we need to always try to nurture each of them. This is the ability to engage in lifelong learning and personal growth. It includes creativity, curiosity, and mentorship. And we learn in 3 main ways. One is about knowledge, that is adding the information that we have. 2 is about skill. This is practice, what we learn, that something that we can practice. And then we have attitude, which is about behavior. We learn also in ways that we can change our behavior. I don't know, Ratema, you can read for us what is written on the picture on attitude.
You can, yes. On attitude, it says, yes, you can complain because roses have thorns. For you can rejoice because thorns have roses.
Or you can rejoice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's what attitude is all about. Attitude is about your perspective of something. So this is something we can see the rose there. You can decide whether you want to complain or you want to rejoice. But we have the same thing. It's basically the same when you talk about the glass being half empty or half full. It's about you deciding how you want to view something, which is also very important. Intellectual health promotes cognitive stimulation and personal development. So how can we grow our intellect? One is by reading. We can read both fiction and non-fiction books. Fiction books are also good because they help grow our imagination, and non-fiction because we also learn something about it. And in today's world, because we also have audio books, then we cannot say that we don't have the time to read. You can read as you cook, you can read as you wash the dishes, you can read on your commute. So there are a lot of ways that we can be able to read. Number 2, we can also learn from mentorship, that is learning from others, which is something you're doing in this program. We can also learn from people because people have a lot of information. So we learn from each other. Everybody has something to share. Then brain games are also very important, like the one I have given you. Doing crossword puzzles. There's something we call Sudoku. I don't remember very well what it's called. So these brain games are also very important. I know many of us, like me, at the time, I really used to complain a lot because I find my kids always on their phone playing games. But I realized what I can do is that I can support them to play games that are also not just for entertainment, but also that can also grow them. So there are a lot of games you can get either online or even in apps that are not just for entertainment, but they help you to grow. Then we look at occupation or career. So this refers to the satisfaction and fulfillment individuals experience at work. And this can eliminate burnout and poor performance. The key considerations here, we look at job satisfaction. How satisfied are you at your job with your job? Are you happy with what you're doing? Do you feel useful? Do you feel like you're making a contribution? Do you feel like you're just there to pass time? That will influence a lot how healthy you are in terms of your career. Then work-life balance. I don't know, this is something I'm not very sure. I don't know if we call it work-life balance because life is also work and work is also life. But basically it means balancing your career and your family life. So how well balanced is it? How much time do you spend at work? How much time do you spend with your family? Is it a balance? Is one suffering because of the other? That's something you need to look at. And then also career development. Where you are in your career, where you're working, what are your career development plans? You should always have career development plans. It's not about, a plan that I one day I'll be the CEO of this company, but that I will be able to keep on increasing my output. I'll be able to increase I can be able to continue increasing the impact that I have on the people that I'm working with. So occupational health can significantly impact overall well-being and work performance. So there are a lot of things that we can do for self-care at work. I have a small document which I've shared with Ratemo, which she will share with you later. Small activities that you can do at your desk that can help you improve on your occupational or career health. Because of time, I can see I may not show it now because I know it will take a bit of time. Then we look at financial. This is one that I think we probably shy from talking about many times. So what comes to your mind when you hear the words money or finances? Let's communicate in the chat, or whoever wants to talk can say, when you hear the word money or finance, what comes to your mind? Is it positive thoughts? Is it negative thoughts? Yeah, you can tell us what when you talk about money. Oh yeah, Fortunate is telling me it's called Sudoku.
Yes, Saber.
Thank you. When I hear about money on finances, two things come into my mind. One being positive. If I'm expecting it, maybe I've done something and I'll be expecting money, then it is positive. But also when it is needed and I don't have it, it can be a source of stress or worry. So it really depends when I hear the word money or finance.
Thank you. Ratama, you can read for us what people are saying in the chat.
Yes, we have from Elizabeth saying blessings, from Sarah saying think of how to spend it. Then we have Rutendo saying investing. We have Fortunate saying, I think about the relationship between me and my money. Then Irina says receiving and giving. Gertrude says, I think about giving and investment. And then we have Gertrude and obviously earning. Abel says it depends because when you don't have it, I worry. When I have it, I rejoice. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So financial health measures your ability to meet your financial needs and prepare for unexpected financial emergencies. According to the finance health experts, they usually say that you should be able to have some money, let me call it money because sometimes if it's in an investment, you may not be able to liquidate it quickly, that you can be able to survive, let's say, for 3 to 6 months. If, let's say, you lost your job or your source of income, you can be able to survive for another 3 to 6 months before you get another source of income. So I don't know how many of us are in that position. I hope we are. And if we are not, let's work towards that. I think, again, we saw what happened during the Corona time. For somebody who was living just with from month to month with a salary, and then now Corona has come and you don't have a job again, there was a lot of stress. So we need to look at our financial health in a way that we can be able to survive for some time in case our income generating activities don't work out. So your money mindset is the way you feel about and handle your finances. And that is very important in defining your relationship with money. I don't know whether you've had people who say that the relationship with money, the two of them can't survive together. So either it's the money or them. So it means that sometimes what happens is that when they earn, it's just about earning and spending. So what happens when we have unstable financial health? I know we may not think about it seriously, we may not think it, but these actually are things that happen when we are not financially stable. One, we have increased blood pressure because, like somebody told us, of course, you worry when you don't have money. Yeah, then of course we have muscle tension, we have digestive problems, can lead to depression, shame, maybe when you're not able to meet our financial obligations, and of course leads to anxiety. And all this again affects the other areas of our health, especially our physical and our emotional. So how can we practice financial self-care? One is creating a budget. This is very important. I know many of us work in projects, and of course we work with budgets in our projects, isn't it? But do we do this in our personal lives? Do we create a budget? It's important to have a budget so that you can be able to control your expenditures per month. Once you have a budget, you can be able to set, so what are my costs? What are my expenditures? These are my expenditures, and you set a certain amount for each month. Of course, there's some months that may be a bit more, some may be a bit less. There's some big, maybe some big expenditures. For example, if you're paying school fees, maybe you have a loan that you're buying a house or a car or something like that. But it's very important to create a budget. Two, it's important to prioritize your savings. I know what many of us do, we save what is left, let's say in quotes, what is left behind is what we say is our saving. But when we say prioritize savings, it means that we need to first save and then use what remains after we have saved. Actually, some financial health experts say that you should try and save at least between 10 to 30% of your salary. And maybe something practical that you can try out for the next month, let's say, just get 10% of whatever you earn, just 10% out and see how you survive with the balance. And I can tell you that with time, you'll find that you're actually able to survive with that amount. But many times we feel that no, first use the money and then save what is left. And we know half the time or 70% of the time, no money is actually left. Another important thing is to minimize debt, especially debt that is not bringing in any money. We should try as much as possible not to use what we have not earned, because that is basically about using money that you've not yet earned. Then live within your means. That's also very important. Don't try to live like somebody else. Just live within what you have. Invest wisely. When you talk about savings, when we save our money, we don't just put it in the bank or under the mattress, but we invest it wisely so that the money can work for us. And of course, another important one is diversifying your income. It's very important to diversify your income. Again, we cannot rely on one income source. So it's very important to look for other income sources. And in these days of what we call the gig economy, there are many ways that you can also diversify your income. In fact, even in ways that where now the money works for you, you can invest in places where the money actually works for you and the money can continue multiplying on its own without even needing your input. Then environmental. So environmental, we said it refers to the social, natural, and built environments that affect our health and well-being. So this includes exposure to toxins, to pollution, as well as natural disasters. It means that it's important to have a pleasant and stimulating environment. So when you talk about social environment, the social aspect, natural, it talks about our Mother Earth. And we know that we have really destroyed our Mother Earth. We're trying to rebuild what we have destroyed. And then our built environments, this is basically the buildings and the environment where we are. We should try to ensure we reduce our exposure to toxins as much as possible and to pollution Just ensure that you have a pleasant and stimulating environment. And this is critical for our own personal health, as well as for the sustainability and health of the planet. So we know when our environment is not good, we have climate change. These are not going to, because these are things I'm sure you're aware of. We have climate change, but what can we do to reduce our negative effect on the environment? One is reusing and recycling. As much as possible, let us recycle what we can. Then 2, reduce water wastage. We know that a lot of water is wasted, and water is, we say water is life, but we waste water a lot in so many different ways that we may not realize. For example, just a small simple thing I can say, for example, when you're brushing your teeth, as you brush your teeth, you put your toothpaste on your toothbrush and you wet the toothbrush. You leave the tap running as you brush your teeth. No, that is wasting water, because you don't need the water at that point in time. So while you're brushing your teeth, then it's good that you close the tap, then you open it again when you're rinsing your mouth, you know. Same case when you're showering, when you're soaping yourself, you don't need to keep the shower running. You can soap yourself and scrub yourself and then put the shower on again when you're washing. When you're washing dishes, you just have the tap running as you soak the dishes, the cups and the plates. You know, there may be small things, but if you are, for example, to put just a container when you're brushing your teeth or when you're washing your dishes, you realize that over time you waste a lot of water. So these are just small things that we can change in our lifestyle. Then invest in energy efficient appliances. At least most of the appliances we get nowadays are coming very efficient. If for those of you who are there those many years ago and we had the old bulb that used to emit also a lot of heat, isn't it? It was emitting a lot of heat because it was also using a lot of energy, and those bulbs used to be very high wattage. But now we know that with technology we have very low wattage bulbs that also reduce the energy that is used. The same case for different appliances. Then also reducing food waste is very important. We also waste a lot of food. Actually, statistics show that about 30% of food that is produced is actually wasted. And if we're able to recover this food, it would actually reduce our food insecurity, would actually reduce on the people who are going hungry. How do we waste food? In so many different ways. It can be at the point from the farm, by the time it gets to the market, from the time it's in the supermarket or the market, to the time it gets to our house, sometimes even in our houses. Do we cook too much food that we have to waste? Do we buy in bulk and then we don't cook and the food goes bad? So small habits, small things that we can do at our own personal level that can help reduce waste. And then, of course, separating waste. This is also very important, something that has not maybe caught up very well in our economies, but it's very important to separate waste so that you can know what can be recycled and what can be reused. For example, even in our homes, you put all your rubbish together, the papers, the food waste, because the food waste you can use it too as manure. If you have a small kitchen garden, it can be used too. Or even if it's a lawn, you can put it there, it can help for your lawn. So let us learn how to separate our waste. Then as a community, so those are things that we can do on our own. Then what are other things that we can do? Of course, by promoting sustainable farming practices, we cater for our environment, which is what most of us are doing in this agroecology field. Involvement in tree planting. We know trees are very important in cleaning up the air, so we should really engage in tree planting activities, focusing more on the indigenous trees, focusing on fruit trees so that we can also get food apart from just the forest cover. Then where possible, we can participate in cleanup activities. And I usually say when we participate in these cleanup activities, it's not just about going to do the cleanup, but it's about, this comes to the next one, advocacy, but telling people about the importance of keeping a place clean. Because every month we can have a cleanup activity of cleaning a certain river. But if we don't look at why is the river getting that big, then it means that we shall really be doing just contributing this over and over again. It's important for us to let people know. Again, like I said, in holistic health, we're looking at the root cause. It's important to think about what is the root cause of this. Why do we have to keep cleaning up? Who is making this place dirty? How can we teach them not to continue making this place dirty? There's a quote that is usually, I don't know, it's Nelson Mandela. I'm not sure, I don't remember very well, but it says that instead of, it's talking about a river, instead of taking people from the river downstream, we should focus on going upstream and finding out why they are falling into the water. So it's important for us to find out why are people doing what they're doing, why are they doing the activities that are creating a bad environment, why are they using these chemicals that are polluting the earth and as well as polluting us. Can we give them options to use cleaner material, to use biofertilizers, to use biopesticides, so that we can keep our plants and our system clean. Then we also need to detox our social media accounts. I know social media we learn a lot through social media, but it can also become very negative. So it's something that we also need to train ourselves on. Then we look at our emotional life. This is also very key, and it's very important because it influences so many of the decisions that we make. And when we talk about our emotional health, we are looking at both emotional in terms of what our ability to recognize and express our emotions in a healthy way. It's about being in control of our thoughts and feelings. It's about understanding the thoughts and feelings that we have. It's not about denying our feelings or denying our thoughts, but it's just about being in control, recognizing them, and learning how to work around them. The state of our emotions determines the state of our mind and our body. If we have poor emotional health, this will affect our ability to function both mentally and physically. I think this is very clear. We know that sometimes if we're emotionally stressed, sometimes it reflects even in our work. Of course, you're not able to work. Maybe you're thinking so much, you're worried. These are just some examples of different emotions that you can have. If you're angry, of course, you'll not be able to work very well. If somebody talks to you, you'll find yourself, you're just snapping. If you're fearful, you find that you may not want to try out so many things and things like that. So if you have poor emotional health, then it can easily affect the way you work. When we talk about emotional health, we're also looking at our mental health, and this means we need to learn how to manage stress, anxiety, and depression. Emotional health plays a significant role in maintaining the overall well-being. It's very essential for personal and professional success. If you're not able to control our emotions, then we can say things at work that can be detrimental in the work environment. So we need to be careful how we control our emotions. So how do we know that we are well emotionally? One, having the ability to talk to someone about your emotional concerns. Of course, this means not talking to everybody, not talking to the whole office about your emotional concerns, but like identifying one person or two people. You need to learn to say no without feeling guilty. Sometimes our desks get piled up with a lot of work, which we know someone to look like the person doing good, but at the end of the day, you're the one who will suffer. We need to learn how to say no without feeling guilty. Then if you feel content most of the time, it means your emotional wellness is high. If you feel that you have a strong support network, and if you feel good about who you are, it means your emotional wellness is great. But if the opposite is what happens, then it means that you have an issue with your emotional wellness. If most of the time you feel you're not content, you're not comfortable, if you feel like you can't talk to somebody, you keep things to yourself, even when you have challenges, then that means you are emotionally unwell. And when you talk about emotional health, it's about the heart and the mind. Those are the two main organs in the body that are concerned with our emotional. So they need to work together very well so that you can be emotionally stable. So how do we practice emotional health? These are just some of the ways that we can practice our emotional health. One is, of course, practicing gratitude. Always Just being grateful for what you have, no matter how tough things are. There's always something that you can be grateful for. You can be grateful for the gift of life, for the gift of family, for the gift of friends, for the gift of every day. At the end of the day, just write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. Try to do this every day. I have an app on my phone called Gratitude Journal, which okay, I try to remember, but maybe some days I forget. But every day, once you write or you remember things that you're grateful for, then even the tough things that are happening, you tell yourself, these too shall pass, but I still have something to say to be thankful for. Then stay positive. Always think about the positive things that are happening. Find purpose and meaning in your life. Know why you wake up every morning. What am I waking up to do? What am I waking up to do? Am I making a difference? What difference? What will I do today that will make a difference, a positive difference in somebody's life? Then connect with others. Like we said, the social capital is very important. Take care of your physical health. If you take care of your physical health, then you're also able to take care of your emotional health. Then strive for balance in your life, depending on whatever you're doing, both work and your personal life. Learn how to manage your stress. Again, it's not about ignoring your stress or saying it does not occur, but learning how to manage the stress. Then always think before you act. Sometimes when we're emotional, we may say things that we regret later. So especially when you have those negative emotions, sit back, close your eyes. People say even look for a paper or a pen and bite that pen for 5 minutes as you sort your mind out, so that before you say any words, because once words are said, they cannot be taken back. No matter how much you say you're sorry, very hard to take back. You cannot actually take back words that you have seen. Then express your feelings in appropriate ways. We said when you have feelings, whether they are good feelings or the bad feelings, find a way of expressing them, but find a way of expressing them also in inappropriate ways, not in ways that also can be harmful to other people. Then always be aware of your emotions and reactions. Be aware of them. Don't deny them. Just be aware of them and accept them as they are, and learn how to move on and live with them. Apart from these things that you're doing, then there are things that you should stop doing. One is substance abuse. Substance abuse is very critical in terms of our emotional health as well as our physical health. You should avoid at all costs the use of these drugs. Tobacco is also very detrimental for emotional health as well as our physical health, and of course, excess alcohol. Note I've said excess alcohol. I think we saw in our blue zones, one of the things that the people in those blue zones, they took a bit of alcohol, just for socializing, not the kind of excess alcohol. I don't know in the other African countries, but in Kenya, many people say that if I don't drink and get drunk, there's no point of drinking, So alcohol should just be something that is done socially. I think we're told it's good for the health, depending, especially wine, not the beers. They're good for digestion also. So we need to avoid excess alcohol. So as we wrap up, I have another small video here. These are people who are called super agers. Unfortunately, again, my research, this research seems it's always done in the West. So maybe this is a challenge for us to try and look for this kind of research and see whether we can be able to document our local, something local for this. So these are people who are called super agers who are being studied by a certain author. He wrote a book called Dynamic Aging, which we shall see. So
Pauline, I can't hear the video. No sound. Pauline.
Okay. So you can tell us what you thought about that video. As we summarize. Anyone who would want to be that active when they are that old, when they are at that age? I know I would.
Yeah, there are some chats. Saber says she will. And then Fortunate says it showed different ways of taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, socially. Gertrude says, excellent. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was good. I learned a lot.
Okay. So just to summarize, holistic health is a concept that focuses on treating the whole person rather than just the symptoms of a particular ailment. It involves taking care of oneself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and socially. So we need to take care of all these aspects of our lives for us to have a wholesome life. It aims to achieve a balance in all these dimensions that we've talked about, and it gives you space to be broken, but at the same time whole. It's not to say that we need to be perfect. It's about understanding where we have challenges and learning learning how to do something about it. This is forming broken things. You can see it's formed just using gold and it becomes something full. It means that despite our shortcomings, despite our flaws, we are still whole and we can still make a contribution to our communities. So wellness is not the absence of disease, but it's not the absence of disease, illness, or stress, but it's the presence of having a purpose in life, being actively involved in satisfying work and play, having joyful relationships, and having a healthy body and a living environment. If we have this, then we can say that we are well. If we don't have this, even if we are not sick, we say we don't have a disease, but our wellness will not still be up to date. So these are just a list again of the dimensions of our health that we need to think about. We need to look at them as much as possible and try to know where we have challenges, where do we need support, whether we need support from somebody or whether we can support ourselves by just making little changes in the habits and the things that we do. So I have what I call a call to action, and this is something that I would expect all of us to do. So this is going to be an action plan. I know most of us are working with projects and we know how we set our action plans. So this is now going to be an action plan that you're going to set for your own life. So one, you're going to set a goal. Pick one of the dimensions. It's better to start with one, because if you start with so many, then you probably get clogged up with so many things that you need to do. From the circle of life that you drew, look at where maybe the one that is closest to zero. Pick on that one and then work on it. Identify some specific activities, small things that you can do. And then those activities, once you put them down, then you carry out those activities. It's not just enough to identify them and write them down, but then also do them. Then, of course, track your progress. I know we all do a lot of M&E in our projects. So we are going to see how we can translate this now into our own personal lives. And then, of course, finally, we celebrate the milestones. We don't wait to celebrate even our project when we finish the project, but any achievements along the way, we keep celebrating all the successes along the way. And what is important to remember is that we focus on progress, not perfection. It's not about doing things perfectly, but it's about moving one step at a time, every day moving. That's what is important. It's not about getting it. It's not about getting it right. So once Ratamo shares the presentation, I hope you can be able to put this into a proper action plan. And I think we shall discuss with Ratamo how we shall follow up on this. Maybe 3 months, 6 months down the line. Let's see how far we have gone. What have we been able to make any changes? So this is a choice that you have. You want to choose a pharmacy with an F or a pharmacy with a PH. If you choose eating good food, you're going to avoid the pharmacy with the drugs. You know, these drugs, most of them are just chemicals that just keep us to keep us going. And if we use food, we can be able to look at the root causes of all the things that are challenging us. In addition, if we choose a pharmacy that starts with F, it means that we are also promoting the farmers that we're working with. We're giving them market for their products. So this will be a double win for us. It will be a win for our health. It will be a win for the farmers we are working. It will be a win for the agroecology sector that we are working on. So I leave you with these two quotes. A river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence. What is important, if we want to make changes in our lives, is about consistency, not about doing big things. If you want to do, for example, exercise, it's not about saying that now from tomorrow I'll start going to the gym every day for 5 days a week. No, it's about saying that I'm going to walk an extra 500 meters every day, an extra kilometer every day, something small. We always start small, but something that we can be able to do consistently. And to always remember that a big journey always begins with small steps. So thank you very much for listening. My contacts are there. If you need more information, if you want to talk to me, discuss any of these things further, We are currently working on a health and wellness program for corporate with an Africa Center for Project Knowledge. Once it's ready, maybe we shall let you know. So thank you very much for listening and for your time. Back to you, Ratemo.
Thank you, Pauline. Amazing. Oh, there's a comment from Sarah. She says, one person said, eat food as medicine before you are fed on medicine as food. I think
Very
that's a
true.
quote. Mm.
That's very true. Yeah, thank you for that.
So thank you so much for making time to share your presentation about wellness and health. I think all of us, we have learned something we never knew. And I'm sure we will try to implement whatever we have learned in our lives, especially personal life. I like the circle. I'm going to do a third one, and then I see whether my wheel is moving. I appreciate everyone who has joined. Probably we can just have three comments, one from Kenya, one from Zimbabwe, one from Uganda. I'm going to do it very random. Fortunate, do you mind saying thank you to our facilitator on behalf of Zimbabwe?
Thank you very much, Ratemo. I was actually just writing, Pauline, thank you so very much. This was very informative. This was very encouraging. It helps us to pick up the pieces. And the way you actually so presented it was made it to be quite easy to understand and also to see it as something that is quite simple. We can take small steps and do baby steps and grow from them. Once again, thank you so much and don't tire doing this wonderful work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fortunate. We have Irene Momo. Do you mind saying something on behalf of Kenyans? Irene? And she prepares maybe on behalf of Uganda. Any volunteer? Oh, your many.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Sorry, I got disrupted somewhere. I'm on the farm, but I think what I had was interesting, very, very informative. I think for me, my conclusion would be like the health and wellness is a state of mind and it's an attitude, and it's also a heart attitude thing. Heart, H-A-E-R-T. So if we follow and allow ourselves to, just do what we need to do and not allow other people to dictate what we are doing, I think we can be able to achieve a lot. Thank you very much, Pauline.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Irene. For Uganda, Christine, do you mind saying something? Christine Alum.
Yes, please. Thank you, Ratemo. And thank you so much, Pauline. It was such an eye-opening and very insightful topic that you have brought to us. I have really learned a lot, and I believe everybody else on the platform has learned something, because I first of all, I personally hadn't seen or heard about the circle of life or wheel of life, and it involves so many aspects that I didn't think of, and it was really an eye-opening for me. I have really learned a lot about wellness, being emotionally stable. So I just want to say thank you so much, Pauline, for the information that you have given us today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks. It was my pleasure.
So I think we have now finished in terms of the talk shop. Thank you everyone for your time. I'm going to share the presentations and her contact information. Please feel free to reach out to her in anything. Even you can engage her to talk to your team if you want on personal health and wellness. Am I right, Pauline?
Yes, I'm available.
Yes, so allow us to end here, but thank you so much for making time, and see you for the next session in May. So, bye-bye.
Thank you, and have a good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
Bye-bye.